All right, we're looking at one song, three ways today. This is a beautiful classic song. It's one of my favorites. It's You Are My Sunshine. I think everyone grew up with this song, right? Like everyone just knows this song and it sounds excellent on the banjo. One of the really cool things about it is like, I just assume everyone knows, you know, Undone in Sorrow, Cripple Creek, Old Joe Clark, all those. And the fact is most people don't, but everyone knows You Are My Sunshine. So this is a great one to break out with your friends and family around. Everyone's going to be able to sing along, play it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We're looking at three different ways to play it, right? So we've got, you know, sort of that standard upbeat version. Then we look at a couple different ways. We're not even just looking at Clawhammer banjos today. So the third one, we're going to do something a little different. I'm really excited for that one. First thing you're going to want to do, link in the description, download the tabs. It's going to take like 10 to 15 minutes to hit your inbox. I don't know why it does that, but if you go do that now, it'll be there waiting for you by the time this video is over and you'll be able to get straight to work. So the first version we have is our classic upbeat, happy sounding version, right? When I said You Are My Sunshine, you probably heard it in your head a little bit. This is probably the version you heard, and it sounds like this. So classic, right? So much fun to play. This one's pretty beginner friendly. If you've got that basic bum-diddy banjo stroke, not too much going on with the left hands. We've got our G, C, and D chords. We're in open G tuning, by the way, for this. It's just going to be G, D, G, B, D. When you look in those tabs, right, I have one of the tabs is just the melody. So just... Because one of the things that is so useful when you're looking at other people's tabs is to see how they constructed the song from the skeleton. It is so important to understand what is melody in a tab and what is the embellishments. What are the extra stuff that I'm adding on just to make it sound cool, right? Because the idea here is that I have a version of this song in my head. You have a version of the song in your head. It's a little different than what I have. It's a little different than anyone else in the world. Our goal is to get that version out of your head through the banjo out in the world. And so we can use the melody tab as a starting point. This lets us learn the skeleton of the song, and then you can work on adding the embellishments that you love to make the song yours. When you look at my tabs, that's great. You can see how I'm thinking about the song, but it might not quite be the way you think about the song. And if you know, you can just cross out everything on the tab except melody notes and add what you want in. It makes it a whole lot better. You know, I was talking to someone the other day about this too. Like, none of this stuff is mandatory. When you see me use drop thumb or whatever, just something maybe you don't like the sound of it, like, don't leave it in. This stuff's not set in stone. These songs were passed down, learned by ear, all that kind of stuff. Every banjo player should be able to make the song their own, right? So start with the melody, build up from there. I'm rambling. That's okay. I'm having fun here today. Let's talk a little bit about this arrangement and why it sounds happy and upbeat, and ways we can add to that melody to make it more upbeat and that sort of traditional sound. In general, I'm looking for ways to make the song a little notier, right? So adding in some drop thumbs, adding in some hammer-ons, pull-offs, things like that, just simple little embellishments that are going to just add a few notes here and there. So as an example, when I go from an open note in the melody to a fretted note on the same string, well, chances are I'm going to make that a hammer-on. When you have that melody, you can kind of shift the notes about a half beat in either direction and it's going to sound right. So as an example, in that tab, we've got this fourth measure that's just going to be... So that's open third, first stroke thumb pluck, open fourth, second note of the fourth, or second fret of the fourth string. So what we can do is we can move that second fret of the fourth string ahead half a beat. So now instead of on the 4, we can do it on the end of the 3 as a hammer-on. So 1, 2, and 3, and, right? Instead of 1, 2, and 3, 4. And that is going to give the song a little more liveliness. So one thing we tend to do when we want to make a song sound a little more upbeat is just shift some of the melody notes up half a beat. And that is really going to enhance it's going to add drive to the song, basically. And now we have that fourth beat that's empty. So we're just going to add a brushstroke thumb pluck for it. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, take a look at the fourth measure of the tab. It's the last line of the first, last measure of the first line. And I think you'll be able to see how that works. And then same with pull-offs, right? Like if I'm going from a fretted note to an open string, I can move that beat up half. I can move that open note up half a beat and just play it as a pull-off, right? So instead of 3, 4, I can go 3 and 4 and. Simple ways to add more drive to the song, make it more happy, make it more upbeat. So what about the opposite of that, right? Like I think of the Johnny Cash version of this song. It's sad, it's mopey. The lyrics in this song are actually quite sad. It's like the hey-ya of banjo music, right? We've kind of got this happy, upbeat tune with these sad lyrics. And what if we arrange things a little bit to embrace that melancholiness a little bit? So what if instead of adding notes, we take some notes away? What if we, instead of adding drive by moving melody notes up a half a beat, what if we add sparseness by moving them back half a beat? It might sound like this. You know what? Honestly, it's hard with this song because it's just such an upbeat tune. But when we start to drop out some notes, when we start to move beats back a little bit, we get a much sparser feel. We start to at least approach a melancholy feel for this song. I think it's quite nice. And really what we're doing, we're adding syncopation. So where we added hammer-ons to hammer-ons, pull-offs, things like that to move the beat up, we use syncopation to move the melody notes back half a beat. So if we look at like those first two measures, we've got, right, just that simple bum-diddy. We're hitting that second open string. So what we can do is we can skip the brushstrokes and just add M skips in there to give it a little bit of a sparser feel, take away a little bit of the drive that the brushstrokes can give. So 1. So now we're going 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. We can also move that second melody note on that second open string back half a beat. So we can go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. Which basically is like a weird syncopated drop thumb. Yeah, this technique stuff's important, right? Understanding syncopation and drop thumb or really combining them, these can be a little bit tricky. I have right now a 30-day right hand technique challenge going on where we really dive deep into this stuff. If you're not comfortable, you might want to check that out. I'll put a link in the description as well. But essentially what we're doing here is we're going 1, then we skip the brush strokes. We're just moving as if we were a brush stroke, but we're moving our fingers past the strings. We thumb pluck like normal on the end of 2. So 1, skip, and then we drive back in again and skip. But now we're setting our thumb on the second string. And so our thumb pluck on the end of 3 goes on that second string. And skip on 4, and. So 1, skip, and skip, and skip, and 1, skip, and skip, and skip, and. It's a little tricky, but once you get it, it sounds really nice. And then the other thing that can be really nice when you want to make a song a little more sparser is just to fan your brush strokes a little bit, right? You know, I notice a lot of people sort of have one kind of default brush stroke they use. Play with that, right? Like they should be a conscious decision, at least to a degree. Like maybe you have one as standard, but then when you think like, okay, well, maybe I want a different feel, like think about altering your brush stroke. Maybe use more or less fingers, slower, faster, whatever. When we go a little sparser, a little more melancholy, sort of fanning those brush strokes a little bit can really go a long way. And finally, what if we just do something totally different? We don't even need to do Clawhammer, right? Like we've got the melody. We can hang whatever we want. We can do whatever style. We could do bluegrass style, whatever. But what if we do two finger? I really like two finger. I think it sounds nice. And I think it sounds really nice for this song. We don't have as much of a sparse feel as in that middle arrangement, but we just have this nice kind of straightforward, mellow sound with two fingers. So it could sound like this. That sounds so nice. And I'm not even like I'm not a great two finger player. Like I really play Clawhammer banjo about 99% of the time, but man, like for a song like this, I think two finger is just beautiful. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a two finger expert, but I'm going to tell you what I know. Maybe someday I will be. I really feel like this is a fun style to explore, and I probably should spend some more time with it. So my approach to two finger is pretty simple. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm picking out the melody with my thumb, and then adding in a combination of just fifth string and first string plucks with my thumb and index finger to sort of round it out and add color to that emotion, those fills, right? So. Basically, if my thumb is free, I'll use that on the fifth string. If it's not, then I'll use my index finger on the first. And I'm just alternating between the two, between my thumb and index finger, occasionally pinching just those first and fifth strings if it makes sense. Honestly, I feel like this is a very intuitive style. If you're new to it, take a look at the tab and just start to experiment. And if you want to dive further, what you might do is sort of take some melodies that you know and just see if you could, or like some of my other Clawhammer banjo tabs, take those and see if you can turn those into two finger arrangements. I find that really useful coming from Clawhammer to sort of take that Clawhammer arrangement and adapt it to two finger. I think that makes a lot of sense for me. And if you're coming from Clawhammer, it might make sense too. In fact, here's what I'm going to recommend. I did this video a couple of weeks ago on 3 sort of beginner-friendly, simple songs. I'm going to put it up right here. I think you should click on that and see if you can adapt those arrangements for two finger. And I'll see you next week.